we have definitely moved into a new season. And it's going to be a challenging season, but a really fruitful, can be just an amazingly wonderful season. But the war will be a part of it. But what a new season we've moved into. And it has been the prayers of the church, the Ekklesia, the last few months, I think, that has pushed us through into this new season and readied us for the next. And I don't know that we could have gotten through that window of opportunity to get into the next season if there had not been that thrust of prayer that we've had. So we're moving there now, and we're gonna see the fruit of a lot of things, a lot of our labors, but we're going to have to keep laboring. Amen. So this has been a really fascinating week for me. I started the week in Washington, and I wrote about that. Probably most of you read the report from that, but I found it interesting that the Lord was refocusing me there. I can almost sometimes measure what God is doing in America when he pulls me away from going to regions and states and starts moving me back into D.C. And I had a sense when I was there that the Lord would start moving, sending me there, and probably others on a more regular basis, because not because they're more important than anywhere else, but they are more strategic sometimes, and so it's almost like God has to do all these things around the nation, and he just takes it to D.C. and shoves it down their throat. But when the brother called me and said, I feel like we're to go and consecrate the court, Supreme Court. And I just didn't know if we could even do that biblically because of where they've been and because of what I know what that means. But when the Lord assured me that he was hearing from the Lord and we were to do that, I felt, okay, this is one more sign that we are moving into a new season. I feel like at Rosh Hashanah we crossed into a new season. I think you would agree with that. Chuck, would you not agree with that? I feel like at that head of the year time, we crossed over into a new season, and I feel like that assignment at the court was just a part of that when he said, separate them unto me, rededicate them to me. I feel like 30 years, 40 years of intercession for the Supreme Court is now coming into the breakthrough stage of fruitfulness. I believe we could see incredible breakthrough there this year, and I feel like they're going to play a significant role at some point in helping shift some things. I'm just be honest with you, I don't even think they want to. I don't think they want any part of some of the things God's going to make them do or that they're going to be forced to do. But I will say this to you, the strong man over America has lived in that Supreme Court. That's been his base for a long time. But he's being evicted, I want you to know. And it's because of the prayers of the church, and that clean place from when he's put out is not going to be left empty. The Spirit of God's going to move in there, and angels are going to move in there. So that was interesting. And then last night at Flashpoint, I found myself just asking the Lord yesterday, what's on your mind? I mean, I know generally speaking, but for today, for this week, is there a verse you want me to talk about? And if you were watching last night, you heard me mention 2 Corinthians 10, 3, 4, and 5. And I haven't preached on that in a long time. But he brought that, he spoke so clearly to me when I said, what do you want me to read or talk about? And before we ever got out on the platform to start the program, Hank Kuhneman looked at me and he said, I'll tell you what the Lord spoke to me yesterday. 2 Corinthians 10:4. And I said, really? And then, but the significance of that is what it says. The weapons of our warfare are not carnal, but mighty through God to pull down strongholds. Casting down imaginations or destroying imaginations. And that word is not a thought. That word is a mindset. It's logismos. It's a word that means a belief system. It's a word that means what has been programmed into a mind that causes it to think a certain way. And God started talking to me yesterday, and he said, we have come to a point where we can use that verse and that passage not just to pray it over a person. We have come to a point of strength and agreement and understanding as the body of Christ, the Ekklesia, the church. We have reached a point where we can believe for those weapons to be released to tear down, demolish mental, mind, belief system strongholds over groups of people in the earth. Systems of thinking that have ingrained themselves into the thinking of a culture and a society. And when that happens, that opens the door for a principality and powers to come in and rule that region, because they rule through these belief systems and logismos in people. And God said, I want you to believe, and I want you to tell my people and remind them they have spiritual weapons, powerful, empowered by me, with which to demolish those strongholds in the psyche of people and cultures and societies, to give a massive, incredible breakthrough in this season. And I just felt like I heard him say, what the enemy has done over decades, working through the systems, the universities, just the way he programs and tries to deceive. What he has done that has taken him 30, 40 years, God can come with a spirit of revelation that unlocks the mind, and prodigals come to their senses, sinners wake up, the veil is rolled away, and all of a sudden they can see clearly. They're free. Isn't that amazing? Satan's going to see 50 years of hard work blown away in a day. Entire nations set free from demonic thinking. I mean, you know, some of the things you see going on around you right now, they have to be incredibly demonic. I mean, you look at what's happening in this nation. When you look at the hideous things that are going on that this nation does, that our leaders, they know this fentanyl's coming in. They know tens of thousands of people are being killed. These people in Washington are not stupid. They know that. They know the trafficking. They know kids are coming in without parents and just going to be thrown into this system. They know these things can bankrupt us. These people know this. They're just demonized in their minds. What does it take? What kind of a mental logismos, stronghold, mindset that thinks a certain way? What kind of a mind does it take to be willing to take a small kid and mutilate their bodies for your political purposes and your ideologies? You can't think this through logically. And if we were limited, I don't want to stay too long on this, but I just feel like this is one of the places we're going. If we were limited to try and have to redo all of this just with natural strength and ability, I was going to say we couldn't do it. I was going to say take 50 years, but we couldn't do it. But God can jumpstart it with a deliverance. He can come with a lifting of the veil and rending of the heavens and open portals over regions that allows angelic activity, a gate of heaven opens. The house of God invades earth. And the Spirit of God just begins to hover. And when that happens, it affects more than the heart. It affects the mind. Strong. It's a spirit of repentance and revelation and enlightenment. And He's coming to do this. And the Lord said, you remind my people that they have authority and weapons powerful with my power to demolish strongholds here in the thinking of a culture. And then you can renew those minds, and you can teach them my ways, and you can disciple a nation. But first you got to get them delivered, and you got to break that stuff off of them and get this thing changed. And when that happens, I'll just show you how to disciple a nation. And it's not going to take as long as some people think to redoctrinate a nation. Now, I never said that before. But when He writes His laws in the heart, then you start teaching His ways, and there's an instant agreement with this thing, what it's hearing, and it says, that's right. Something just says, that's right. You watch. You watch. You wait and see the transformation that takes place, and the shaking and the mess that He's about to deal with in Washington, D.C. You haven't seen anything yet. Which brings me to my next rant. Because as He has directed me through this prayer gathering Monday night in D.C., back to the court, my focus was not on the court right now. But He's refocusing me there, Chuck. But when I was preparing for that, I remembered a couple of dreams that Greg had sent me, that he had a couple of years ago. And I knew at the time, I just felt at the time, these are not totally or even maybe primarily, they're not for now, they're for later. And both of them involved the Supreme Court, justices. So the rest of my message is not on the court, but it's what happens in these two dreams. And I'm just going to have to summarize them quickly because I don't want to keep you here for another hour, or I want to save just a minute to pray. But, you know, it's fascinating because they had these several months apart. I imagine I hadn't thought about them in a long time. He probably hadn't either. But I believe they're for now. So in the first one, we're in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and we're there to work on the Liberty Bell, ring the bell. So they're both about ringing the Liberty Bell. No, if that is not God saying to us, I'm trying to take you back to something, as in the forward, as in the roots, as in the destiny and the purpose of this nation. And nothing pictures that purpose more than the Liberty Bell, with the Jubilee verse on it. Proclaim liberty throughout the land, all the inhabitants thereof. And I know for many people that's just about the freedom that we enjoy in America, but it can't, in God's mind, it can't just be that, because it's from Scripture and it's from the passage that pictures Christ, our Jubilee, liberating the human race. And when you partner that and marry it to the destiny of America to take the gospel of the kingdom to the ends of the earth and all the nations of the earth, you have to know that when that bell was ringing, it was God saying into the atmosphere of America, this is your destiny, America. And so as he is moving us back to this, it's all about harvest, Chuck. I think you just said that. It's about this great harvest. That's what the war's all about. That's what all the fuss in Washington's about. That's why they don't want America to survive. That's why they want to destroy us. That's why they want to lie about our history. That's why they want to change what's taught in our schools. They don't like, demons don't like, and they're thinking through people, they don't like what God had intended this nation to be. Warring for our destiny is warring for harvest. It's all about the cross. It's all about Calvary. It's all about Jesus. So both of these dreams are about this. And in the first one, I'll try to do this really quick. This is 3-phase dream. First phase, our beginning. Greg and I are watching what happens outside of Independence Hall and the Liberty Bell. There's a little boy, 12, 13, 14 years old, and he picks up a gavel and hits the Liberty Bell. Well, a scene happened then that is repeated over and over in the dream, because there are a couple of animals on either side of the street, and these animals picture the political spirit. One's an elephant, one's a donkey. It's not about the people now, because God, eventually in this dream, he takes them out. But he's not saying he's going to destroy people or political parties. He's saying this spirit that divides the nation, that's what it's called. It's a political spirit. It goes way back past America. Political spirit, married with a religious spirit, crucified Jesus. Anytime you see people trying to divide, it's the political spirit, or posture, or usurp. DC, of course, ruled by it now. But every time somebody would come along, to start with the little boy, the second person that rang it is the next era. It's Abraham Lincoln rings it in the dream. And then the next era, the streets aren't muddy and dirt anymore. They're paved with lines, and it's people from our generation ringing the bell. But every time somebody woke up and would ring that Liberty Bell, in other words, try to get us back to God's purpose and try to really bring true liberty to the nation, every time that would happen, these two animals would go to the middle of the street and start fighting, trying to kill each other. And they're a bloody mess toward the end. And toward the end of the dream, I walked out of Independence Hall with one of the Supreme Court justices. Now, when these things happen in these dreams, I always know this is not about me. I represent the Ekklesia. I represent the praying church. I represent the people these guys talked about a while ago that understand the authority we have and are doing it. That's who I run with. That's who I'm called to help and in some ways lead. So it's not about me. And it's really, I don't think it's about this person. That's why I'm not telling you which one of them it was, because I don't think it's about the person. I think it's about government, and I think it is about the court. But we walked out, and this person, this justice, walked up to the last one that had hit the bell and took the gavel from him. And all of us are thinking, this is right now, okay? This Supreme Court justice is going to ring the bell. But they did something unusual. They handed it to me and said, I can't ring the bell until you ring the bell. Now, I know you're all prophetic. But you don't really even have to be very prophetic to get that one, do you? Don't be looking to us first to fix things. The Ekklesia, the church, is going to have to rise up and do what the God has called them to do. And when you take the authority that's been given to you and you ring the bell, when you deal with this stuff, we'll be able to do what we're supposed to do. And there will be a partnership of the civic government, civil government, and the government of the church working together as was intended from the beginning of America, way back in Israel, all the way back to Genesis. That's the way God wanted. All government is supposed to be married to God and His kingdom and His ways. The authority of God flowing through people into the earth. I don't care if it's in a home, in a city, in a nation. That's the way it's supposed to work. So they said, I can't ring it until you do. When I took it, handed me the gavel, when I took the gavel and rang, when the church, when the Ekklesia hit the bell, an eagle and an angel flew from heaven immediately. And the eagle killed both of those spirits. Swooped down, took the talons, plucked their eyes out. They were blind, and then sat on top of them, big eagle, and started with the beak going after the backbone and the neck till it was exposed, and then it killed them. I don't know what all that means in ultimate manifestation, other than some of the things that are about to happen and what's going to go on in this season is going to force us to come together in some way. I'm not saying everybody will. But that thing that divides us in America, that's one of the things this war is all about. And then I handed the gavel to this justice. And I said, here, now we can do this together. And now we can receive the mercy of the Lord again. The angel flew over and gave, and I don't have time to teach on this, so some of you know what it's about. The rest of you just make up your own sort of interpretation. But the angel flew over, or walked over in the dream, and handed each of us a mercy coin, which goes all the way back to 2016 at the White House. Mercy coin. This justice and I carried it into Independence Hall and both of us laid them down on the Declaration of Independence. So, what God is saying right now, we must, and I believe we have been, and I believe we are going to continue, do not receive any accusation right now that would say there is not a remnant doing what God is telling us to do. Do not receive any statement that says there aren't enough of us. There is no number needed. God can do it through many or few. He's always been willing to do it through few. There's never been a revival in history that started through the prayers and work of the majority. Always it happens through a smaller group of people that birth it by the Spirit of God for the others. And that's what's happening now. There is a people. We are striking the bell. We are striking the heavens. We are releasing the eagles and the angels to come and fight for us. It is happening. It's going to continue to happen. We are not going to stop. We're going to do everything we heard tonight. We're going to do everything he said tonight. We are not going to back up. We are not going to give an inch. We're going to win the war for the soul of America. We're going to win the war for worldwide harvest. Now, let me summarize the other one real quick and get us out of here. Well, we're not going to leave them. We're going to pray and prophesy. So the next one, 2 or 3 months later, he has this one. There are some spiritual leaders there again working on the Liberty Bell. And they pulled it off the stand, and one of these leaders represents kind of the marketplace movement. It's the move of God that said it can't just be from the pulpit, it's got to be all of us, which we're doing now. The other one is a prophetic apostle. The other one was another Supreme Court justice. They've taken it off the stand. They're working on it. I see them, and Greg and I are there, walking up, and I said, oh, I know those guys. I wonder what they're doing. We go over, and they say, oh, good to see you. What are you doing? Well, an angel led each one of us here separately and said, I need you to go and retune the Liberty Bell. It's out of tune. America, you're out of tune. Discord. You're not releasing the right sound. We're here to retune it. And their instructions, they had it, and they flipped it upside down and said, on the lip of it, inside, there's writing, and it's instruction on how to retune it if it ever gets out of tune, but it's in some language we can't read. Maybe one of you guys can read the language. I said, Hood, read this. It's your dream, read it. So he looks at it in the dream, and he says, oh yeah, I said, this is the language of angels. And it says, if retuning is ever needed, tune the Liberty Bell to frequency 528, 528. And I looked at him and I said, wow. See, this is a dream now. You could do all kinds of weird, supernatural, great things in dreams. I said, oh, well, look at there. I happen to have a tuning fork in my pocket that tunes to 528. Good job, Greg. That was awesome. So I take this tuning fork out and say, this tunes to 528. I said, but it has to be struck on this book right here. Well, what's the book? It's a book with testimonies of God's faithfulness and what he's done to birth and preserve America. And it also has in it the Constitution. And it has these seeds, which he said are seeds of revival. And I said, you have to hit this book. That's what you have to strike with the tuning fork. Oh, okay. And the Supreme Court Justice is saying, wow, I'm so glad you guys showed up. I knew I was here to retune this Liberty Bell, but I didn't know how to do it. I think we're going to get it done now. The church shows up. Listen, you got to get this. We showed up for the battle. We showed up for the assignment. We showed up to tune. We showed up to get back to the beginning, the forward. We showed up. Strike, paga, intercession. So, I did the apostolic prophetic leader there tuning, and I'm not going to give you any other names, but this was Bishop Hammond. Now, he grabs that tuning fork. I said, well, has to be held by an apostle and a prophet together, and then strike the book for it to make the right sound. So he takes it. We put our hands together and hit the book of testimonies, past faithfulness, our history, our destiny, our purpose, our constitution. The sound reverberates in the Supreme Court justice as the sound goes forth from the tuning fork. Is taking the pin in the crack of the bell and moving it till it gets in tune with the sound of the fork. And one of the first Supreme Court Chief Justices comes from the cloud of witnesses to help him. You can't make this stuff. He's not smart enough to make this stuff up. You do that new wine dream, for crying out loud. It's like he couldn't have made that up if he'd wanted to. He's moving the pen. I said, Lord, what is this all about? He said, well, I'm going to use your brokenness. When the enemy comes in to destroy, to steal, to distort, to defile. Not only do I heal, but I use his attacks and his wounds and I take it and I use that brokenness and that despair, and I take it and I do my thing with it to cause it to bring a pure sound from that person or that group of people. And I'm going to take what he has tried to do and I'm going to retune the bell using whatever he's going to use. He doesn't like what the devil does, but he loves to use it and turn the tables on it. He loves to show that his wisdom is so far beyond the crafty one. So then it gets perfectly tuned. And the justice is just thrilled, and we're all excited. Then let me just wrap this up. We start putting things away, and he says, as I watched Dutch slide his tuning fork back in his pocket, it was then that I could see it had something written on each tine. As I pondered this dream, I kept thinking, Lord, and I looked and I just, what is this all about? This 528 thing. There's a tuning, one of the frequencies is 528 to tune instruments. But I couldn't get anything out of that. So I looked up the number 528 in Greek is a Greek word that means to meet with or have an encounter. So put that back in the two tines. One of the tines had awakening - alignment. Well, let me define that one quickly, and then we'll go to the second one. Awakening comes through proper alignment. And then the second time, and I'm talking about with him now, even though it does with us, we need to be aligned too. The second tine on there said, heaven and earth, 528. Heaven and earth meet. Awakening or revival comes through the reconnecting, the alignment this way. And it happens when, and it's been said about 10 times tonight, with portals and heaven and earth meeting, and Matthew 16, heaven and bringing it to earth. It happens when heaven and earth, 528, meet. God is about to do what we heard earlier. He's going to open these portals. How did you say it, Chuck? Starting with this region, or it's going to be one of the... he's about to open these portals around the nation and ultimately the nations, connecting heaven and earth. They're going to meet. And it's going to retune the nation back to the sound of life, of freedom, of the gospel, of destiny, of purpose. It's going to align us with heaven and bring the awakening we need and give us the right sound again, because right now it's a hideous sound coming from this land. And he said in Leviticus, when you defile the land, it'll spit you out. When you do the things that defile the land, the shedding of innocent blood and the idolatry and the immorality and all of these things that we have done, and you reject him, it defiles the land, and the very land rebels against you. And that's what's happening in America right now. If we could hear the frequency of earth, we would hear discord. We would hear pain. We would hear travail. We would hear the trees and the plants crying out, somebody fix this mess. We're all under a curse. But when the sound of heaven comes and the life of God is able to penetrate and heaven connects and the sound becomes pure once again, life begins to flow in these regions. The spirit of revelation comes to the atmosphere. Strongholds are broken. Signs and wonders take place. The dead are raised. Evil leaders are pulled down. Philosophies change. Movements occur. Millions of people get saved. Demons get cast out all over the place. Because the sound is pure again. We took the tuning fork into Independence Hall, which had, part of it had become a restaurant, and on the wall it said, taste and see that the Lord is good. Lord, we are working with you. I'm ready to transition this thing, all you guys. We are ready. We are working with, stand with me, stand with me, stand with me, stand with me. We are working with you to retune this nation. Reset, restore, redeem, reconstitute. You are helping us find the sound. And yes, it's the sound of war, but it's the sound of victory. It's the sound of liberation. It's the sound of crossing the Jordan and moving into the land. It's the sound of the shout around Jericho and the jubilee trumpets of God blowing. It's the sound of the King, his shout among them. It's the sound of the Lord of hosts. It's the sound of the angelic armies. It's the nod of Michael to the forces of heaven. It's the war horse snorting and pawing the ground, saying, I'm ready to run. I have trained, prepared soldiers now that know how to ride with me. And we look to government and we look to this and that. And they can't do it until we strike.